Hey there guys, it's Joey and this is a Ogham reading. This is a Ogham reading for my sister and she asked me if I would do it and said it was fine to record it so I could sort of talk out loud and just show the process. I initially said I was going to do one free Ogham reading a week and I veered away from that while I was dealing with some other bits and pieces. But I decided that this was a call to get back to that, and if you would like a free Ogham reading then please comment on the video below, say that you would like one and whether or not you are happy to have it videoed publicly. If you don't want it viewed publicly, then I will video it and make it private and send you the link. I'm going to be picking one person a week, like I said, and this is to help me engage with the Ogham on a divinational level, as well as offering something back, offering a free thing back, and we're nearly at 2,000 subs now, edging that way, and that's really amazing. So I wanted to give something back, and one free Ogham reading is what I'm going to do each week, all being well. So this is for my sister, and she kind of helped push me to start. And the way I've chosen to pick the setup is 3 staves and 4 cards, all Ogham related of course. I like the number 7. I have always worked with the number 7 in terms of my own personal divination, particularly with tarot, and therefore it only makes sense to me to continue that with the Ogham readings. It sort of encourages an incorporation between card and stave for a nice balance as well. I've often used it in the form of past moving into present, moving into future. So the first 2 are indicative of past, the second one moving more into the present, so the second one sort of pertains directly to the present, which is the 3rd and sometimes the 4th, and then the last 3 are sort of advice for the future and moving forwards. 7 is the number of the shaman. It also, for me, is a really cyclic number, 7 days in the week, that sort of thing. It's a really good number for sort of deep magic and journeying and shamanic travelling and things of that nature, and that to me ties into divination processes. So, moving on from that, I'm going to do the reading. So the first stave is Rowan or Louis, which is reversed. So Rowan is quite frequently associated with a number of things. One being protection, particularly protection of the home. Another thing being control of the senses, sort of diverting negativity. And when it is reversed, that suggests a vulnerability to particular dangers, a loss of home, allowing of negativity to overwhelm the self, or loss. And given I know my sister's circumstance, I know which one it is in the circumstances. And here it's sort of talking about a pivotal point in time in the past is the loss of home, and that being a defining factor going forward even to this day. And moving into the next one, we have Iho or you. Now, Iho can speak of accepting the inevitable. It's quite frequently about death and rebirth, the end of one thing and moving into another. So this is sort of directly linked to the loss of protection, the loss of safety, the loss and the situation in that particular circumstance indicated by reverse Rowan, that basically overwhelmed the senses and left feeling very lost, very alone, very unprotected and unsafe. And then that situation led to a death of sorts, a death of what was, and then allowing what would be to be reborn from that. It can also be quite indicative this time of the year, because Iho and you are associated with crone energy, and I know for a fact again, which is it's one of the things about knowing who you're reading for, that my sister works with a crone goddess, and therefore that can also be indicative of the importance of that relationship for getting through the difficulties of leaning on a crone goddess to help us accept difficult times and overcoming them, and death and the sort of allowing a negative situation in the past to end. And then the third card is actually Door or Oak, which is speaking very strongly of a protected energy in the present, a strong home life. Oak can talk about strength and endurance and protection. So that sort of talks about a sort of mini cycle in itself, but perhaps that still has an impact on the present, within mindsets, within emotional upheaval, and we'll talk about whether that's the case in the present cards in a moment. And Door or Oak is a very, very, very strong card with regards to solid protection, and it's another very earthy card. When I was working with it, it was Oak of the deep roots, and it spoke of protection above all things, and of the home in particular. It can also talk about sort of a journey into the self, that strong root and foundation protective energy whilst you look inwards, which again can relate to this time of the year with Samhain coming up, deciding on who you want to become, looking at yourself, looking at any shadow work that needs doing. It may be that the shadow work here is a reference to the past which has occurred, and the sort of processing of the loss of safety and security, and the end that really brought, and allowing that to be an end completely and finitely, to you have the strength now to really work through all of that in a strong protected environment. And the card following that is actually Ivy, or Gort. Ivy is about the strength to overcome, in particular with regards to your spirituality being a crutch. It's often considered touching earth and sky, and ivy is obviously a very tenacious little plant. It's also associated with September, which I know for a fact is when the birth date falls under that month within terms of Gort or Ivy. The rest of these are all upright, suggesting a more positive going forward than was in the background. It talks a little bit about the inner labyrinth as well, the spirals and natural cycles of life, and your ability to overcome difficult times. That a tenacious attitude is actually what will get one through. It can also talk about personal transformation, particularly with regards to education and career. So it can be that the cards before it, the deep roots and the shadow work, was actually talking about looking inward in terms of a personal transformation on a earthy, career-y level, and that you have the tenacity to get where you want to be, to achieve your highest goals, to work within the spiral of your own life, to overcome any blocks that may feel in the immediate that are getting in the way of your overall purpose. And the card that follows that is actually the Sacred Grove. Now, the Sacred Grove is a completely spiritual card and really does talk about your higher purpose. That's where the Druids believed messages from the gods were received, and a place of complete sanctity, a complete sacredness, to see the connections between things that have happened and see the energies around you, and sort of see the patterns between spirituality and nature. So, the abstract and the mundane, like everyday life, things that turn up and are indicators of becoming who you want to be, to really embrace your own life and your spiritual being and perhaps your higher purpose. You are capable of the things that you are seeking out, and if they are a situation of improving yourself through, now you are in a safe place to improve yourself or to push for what you want to become, you're in a more safe environment, grounded by the deep roots of oak, and you have the tenacity to overcome by the strength of ivy, and that being the birth sign, you really do have that huge strength to overcome and persevere and just keep going and just keep doing whatever it is, because at the end you will find you're in a peace, you're in a sanctity, you're in a sacred grove. And that's talking about going forward, and I think that is maybe in the immediate future, as well as finding a sort of sense of peace within yourself. Honeysuckle in the following card, with Julian, is another card of overcoming. It's another card of, it's the intertwinedness quite often, and it can indicate relationships, but given the rest of the cards in this, it's quite frequently associated with the truth or the way, and again has another labyrinth element to it. You can distinguish what is useful to yourself and what is true, and then what is false, utilizing the energy of honeysuckle. It helps you to ignore distractions and sort of fertilize your own soul, fertilize your own being. So that speaks again of this energy of, you just have to keep being tenacious with ivy. You have to understand what your higher purpose is, what your life purpose is. You know what you want from the sacred grove, and finding that inner peace within spirituality. And honeysuckle is again just encouraging you along that path, encouraging you to believe in yourself and to discern what is true from what is not true. Be wary of those that might try and trip up your truth, but still it's a very overarchingly positive in terms of you can achieve what you want to achieve, that your goal is not as far out of sight as you may think it is, or may worry it is, perhaps. Tin is a very protective card in the final outcome, which is very interesting. It talks about overcoming tests, trials. It can talk about justice. It can talk about integrity, courage, and mastery over self. It also has a monetary aspect. It's one of the major financial Ogham card in this case. It's really it's a really fantastic card actually to be in the final position, because literally it's, justice, a positive outcome, sort of, how do we express that? The mastering of everything else within this reading means that you will master yourself. It may indicate that it's difficult for you to really master it, but that if you do, then that will bring a real sense of financial accomplishment from the other things. It may also indicate, of course, that there will be differing challenges and people attacking you for your success in that outcome, because of the rest of it being so much about you getting where you want to be and overcoming the difficulty and that is in your past, and getting your mindset right, and getting to be following your higher purpose. Then there may be others at the end who are envious of that and provide challenge and are sort of vindictive because you do have the measure of success that you're looking for and that you can overcome. And there may be weak-minded individuals who are threatened by the fact that you can overcome any difficulties, any blockages standing in your way. So there you go, that was my Ogham reading. Like I said, there will be one free a week. That's my way of giving back. Many blessings.